Did you realize that people did not know they were living in World War II until World War II was over? People didn't know it was the Great Dust Bowl until they had finished living through it, because hindsight is 2020.
This is a wake-up call, all of America, all of Europe. You are next.
That footage was from Iran here just a few days ago when the United States dropped missiles on them, folks. Now, it's easy to confuse with any of the European countries right now with that call to prayer, but the truth is that was Iran, and that is where you get this Signalgate leak from that everybody's freaking out over. But as a mom of a son who is deploying to the UAE, which is very close to Iran, I can tell you this. I do believe that we may be moving into World War III as we speak. So there are growing tensions between the United States and Iran. Some of the things that are indicating that a war is on the horizon is the fact that we are deploying B-2 bombers, more jets than we've ever seen, and a whole bunch of Navy personnel out into the Indian Ocean. But it's not just America. Iran is doing it also. So what are they doing? They are strengthening all of their positions along their coastal area. Now, I have heard all the conspiracy theories that if we bomb Iran, it is to cover up ancient architecture. If we bomb Iran, it is because they have a centralized bank that is outside of the Rothschilds' grasp. And maybe there's some truth in that. Maybe. I'm sure it would line somebody's pockets somewhere, because isn't that what war is actually about? And we all know how the war in Afghanistan and all of that ended, with America leaving all of our equipment, dogs, and even some of the people that worked against ISIS and all of that. We left them there, folks. We just left them.
That a half dozen, possibly 7 of the 20 B-2 stealth bomber fleet is being forward deployed. I repeat, a half dozen stealth bombers being forward deployed to Diego Garcia.
Happening now.
In the last hour, Iran has announced it is militarizing the Straits of Hormuz. They think that Donald Trump is going to attack them.
Of course, is going to put Yemen and Iran in striking distance.
So yeah, it's obviously enough firepower to take out more than Yemen. They're going to be targeting Iran's nuclear facilities. At least that's what intelligence is leading to currently, and I'm not going to give exact locations for
So
this.
YouTube stole our money. If you'd like to support our channel, it's linked in the top of comments. Even $1 would make me being able to do this possible. Now, he is correct in saying that we are looking at targeting their nuclear weapons. The problem is they're all underground. So I think what you saw recently with this whole Signalgate leak was them talking about getting rid of the drones, which protect the airspace above where they're hiding their nuclear weapons. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure President Trump is going to remove their nuclear weapons, folks. Now, I had told you guys the other day that Iran, or Iran, whatever you want to call it, was the only country with nuclear weapons other than like NATO allies, Russia, probably China at this point, and that we'd never really worried about those weapons being used against us, but that if Europe continues to allow these Islamic radicalists from Syria, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan to flood their country, very soon one of our allies may no longer be our ally, and that's
Things
England.
to keep in mind about the Signalgate story. First, the journalist who broke it, Jeff Goldberg, not a good dude. He manufactured consent for the Iraq War back in 2002, was called by the editor of the New York Times in 2009, Netanyahu's personal stenographer, or faithful stenographer. He was the chief editor for The Atlantic, which was totally complicit in the atrocity propaganda for the Gaza genocide, and he sat on the story for 9 days. because he does support everything that's happening, including the bombing of Yemen.
His husband is currently deployed in the Middle East, not far from Yemen. I'm going to warn you now, this is going to be the angriest fucking video I have ever made in my entire life, because there are not adequate words in the English language for me to fully fucking communicate to you right now how fucking furious I am.
That is how every single military wife and husband should be feeling right now, especially after the new development that Atlantic has dropped this morning, where yes, it was actually classified information.
For starters, no, it wasn't classified information, little girl. Wants to look like a little boy, or you wouldn't have it. Because the reporter that leaked it would be in jail, okay? There's laws against that. Second, that lady had a foul mouth on her, and no, every military mother, wife, daughter, husband, or father should not feel that way. Because actually, they were not war plans. You guys see what we have to contend with? People let their emotions get away. This woman really looked like trash. She did. She sounded like trash. She looked like trash. She brought shame on her husband, who is deployed. So when I think about war, I always look to see exactly who is going to get rich from this. Who is going to benefit? Because we all know George Soros's children and grandchildren aren't going to fight in this war. The Clintons don't have anything to lose. And let's be honest, neither does Trump. Now, I love President Trump, and I voted for him all 3 times, folks. But my child is going to be there. And as a mom, I have to look at this a little bit more objectively than just a patriot. Because who knows what's going to happen in the upcoming months. But I can tell you this, that there are threats that Iran will hit us here on American soil. Now, we all know they can't reach us from Iran. So how exactly would that happen? Open borders. We have let in more terrorists that are on our watch list in the last 4 years than we have in the 20 previous years before that. So I think as Americans, we need to realize that we could end up in a war where a lot of our soldiers, including our National Guard, because that's what my son is deployed overseas. And then we could see terrorists and illegals stand up and attack us on our own soil. And we would be hard pressed to defend ourselves on 2 fronts. Then you have to look at the fact that even though President Trump is doing an amazing job negotiating a cease war between Russia and Ukraine, you still have that nonsense going over there. And now you're still having both Hamas and Israel at each other's throats. Now you add in America and Iran. And wouldn't you call that a world war? I mean, I'm just asking, folks. I think at this point we have to get our heads out of the hole in the ground, and we have to say, this is the reality that we live in, and we need to be prepared by training your dogs, getting a security system, practicing your 2A rights. It's not hard to do. Go to a shooting range, folks. Get comfortable protecting yourself. So I'm asking you guys to prepare yourself. Also, like I said, there is the slimmest of chance. So we may be able to see our soldier one more time when he's in El Paso and he's fixing to deploy out, because they have to go there for a month before they leave as they prep them for deployment. And then when he comes back from the Middle East, he has to stay in El Paso for a month while they decommission them and put them back out into the civilian world, basically. So if you guys would like to support our channel and the possibility we might be able to fly to El Paso to see our son, it's linked in comments, because YouTube stole our money. Because, you know, a conservative woman talking on the internet is somehow a threat to a liberal somewhere.